because most people ignore, and the mothers themselves ignore themselves as soon as the baby is born. So everything is baby, 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 but they don't look after themselves, become terribly depressed, and then the end begins. So postnatal care is care of the mother after delivery. There is postpartum care, there is medical care, there is follow-up, there is health education, there's family planning services, child spacing, nutrition, and psychological and social support. Yeah, in our part of the world, because they've got the in-laws and a whole group of people all waiting to help you with the baby, it makes life easier. If you're in the Western system, you're all alone, God help you. So you need a nanny. Now this is a checklist which I got from the internet, and I thought it is a very good one because it's on postpartum counseling for reproductive by the American Association. So if you are a person involved with this, there is a checklist. First, nutrition, caloric requirements, weight loss, supplements of calcium, iron, prenatal vitamins, DHA, because the breast milk requires all this, and this is important for the baby. Patient is anemic, iron, food sources and supplements. I'm not sure that many of you know that one of the commonest causes of postnatal depression is low iron and low ferritin. Even though the hemoglobin is normal, if the ferritin is low, it causes depression. Besides the mother-in-law and fathers and the baby. Constipation, fluid consumption, very important for breastfeeding mothers, support and encouragement, support groups, caloric requirements, alcohol and caffeine consumption. The moment the Chinese woman delivers, I see Yomei Shu come in, and first of all, herbs, which can cause bleeding, and then they got alcohol, and then what a wonderful baby, because he's sleeping all the time. Baby is drunk, right? So if you want to give it, you should give it 3 hours later and exercise, and that is not done. So then they say, why is my stomach so flabby, isn't it? So let me go through some of the WHO recommendations. We all know that breast milk is the best source of nutrition for the baby. And when you look at nutrition for the mother, for the baby, it's the ideal suitable source, and it helps the mother healing. It makes your uterus contract well, and it actually pushes out the clots. So it's got a good effect from the oxytocin that is produced when the baby suckles, produced by the positive pituitary. It helps in the bonding and in immunity for the baby. The one thing that is not secreted in breast milk is the pertussis antibodies. And that's why you can run, in the baby gets pertussis in the first 4 months, you can get ICU, you can land up in the ICU. So that's why if you look at the CDC guidelines, I try and give them boosterics, DTAP. I know the government of Malaysia is giving tetanus from the time I graduated from medical school. And tetanus is only found in the interior of Sabah, neonatal tetanus. It's never found in West Malaysia for 15 years, but they continue to give. Diphtheria there have been 5 deaths last 2 years here. So it's important. And that's given at 36 weeks, 27 to 36 weeks, immunization, DTAP. In a pregnant woman, in twins, you give it by 32 to 34 weeks because they deliver early. And it does provide immunization through the placenta. And it is good for cognitive development and for foods. And of course, colostrum is very good, and exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months of age, with continuing breastfeeding with appropriate complement food, people can give it 2 years. But if you can reach 6 months, beyond 6 months, exclusive breastfeeding leads to anemia in the child, because the iron content is poor. Even cows are not milked by the companies after 1 year because the quality of milk is poor. And yet all the baby is doing in a 2-year-old child is just using it as a specifier. The rest is rubbish, nutritionally nothing. So don't kid yourself, unless you are in an HIV territory or an area in Africa which is very poor, water problems, and you can die from diarrheal diseases, yes. Otherwise, more than enough, 6 months. So don't listen to all this crap. And people are using this as a contraception. And oops, by 4 months, an incident led to an accident, and you're pregnant. Oh my God, I'm pregnant, I just had a seizure. So I usually tell the husband, they said the husband is a gentleman, he waited till the placenta came out to have sex. It's crazy. Human breast milk composition changes dynamic within feeding, the time of day, the course of lactation between mothers and population, and is influenced by genetic and environmental factors, the gender of the baby, the infective status, the maternal lifestyle, including the dietary habits, and is also whether it's preterm or term. Preterm milk is from the mother is very different from term milk. It's ideal for a preterm baby because the protein content is high in a term baby, is bad for the kidneys. So a lot of these factors are simulated in artificial milk. And it's influenced by the mother's diet. And now we have pantang larang here, which actually is very bad. Okay? In particular, DHA is important. A, B, A, C, B1, B2, B6, and B12 are important. And involves the mineral content. Calcium is important, otherwise you may lose it from the bone. And it's important to have a healthy, balanced diet. So the dietary requirements in non-pregnant women compared to pregnant when we are breastfeeding, the dietary requirements are lactation are higher for water, for energy, because the mother is awake all the night. Baby goes through a cycle of passing urine, passing motion, feeding, it goes on, cycling. You got twins, mati. You need 4 people, 2 resting, 2 working. And 2 breasts not enough, so husband also has to breastfeed. So vitamin A, thank God. Vitamin A, C, E, thiamine, riboflavin, pantothenic acid, B6, B12, biotin, iodine, selenium, and zinc are important for immunity, chromium, copper, and manganese. Okay, so what is important is in lactation, all these are higher. So let's go on to the provision. The quantity of milk transfer is based on the volume of milk consumed by the infant, and if you can suck well, it's about 780 mils per day. You're just a cow. Cow produces more than a few liters. The average consumption of nutrition in the breast milk also vary, and in reality, the volume of breast milk consumed by infant varies. It can even go up to 1 liter a day, and therefore the nutrient transfer may be higher depending on how much your baby is feeding, which you know because the weight of the baby starts rising. And this is kind of important. Okay? So this leads to a depletion of mother's stores, and that can lead to problems in the mother, depression, and so on, if they don't get a proper balanced diet. And you have to promote healthy eating for all these B complex vitamins, calcium, folate, zinc, copper, and iron. I won't go into the details, but I just wanted to show you this paper just published in the Journal of Psychosomatic Journal in Obstetrics and Gynecology, 2018, January, where anemia or iron deficiency anemia contributes to postpartum depression in at-risk women. And this has been known for a long time. Okay? So the maternal diet must have also got DHA, thiamine, riboflavin, and all these are in breast milk. B6, B12, and vitamin A are also very important. Vitamin A for the eye. B12, because some vegetarian or vegan mother, the B12 level is low, so they need supplementation of B12. Very important. And therefore, the increased energy requirements of lactation is determined by the amount of milk, the average content of milk, and the efficiency of the conversion of the energy to milk, which is about 80%, which requires an additional 500 kilocalories per day for the first 6 months of lactation. So all these pantang larang sometimes don't do any good. You just can't eat more and more rice, or just, dried fish or whatever you eat. So that's not enough. So vitamin B is very important because of the energy required for them to keep awake for milk and also for the baby. Besides that, I know now it comes in various forms. Besides DHA, which is very important for brain development of the baby, gangliosides are very important, which are also found in breast milk, and they are important components of neuronal cell membranes, and they are found in the brain, involved in neurotransmission, neurogenesis, synaptogenesis, cell proliferation and differentiation. The fetal brain is very primitive. The baby cannot get up and run until the age of about 1 when he starts locomotion. And the brain development goes on maximally for the first 5 years, actually the first 3 years, slows down. And the final stage of brain development, or the myelination, is at the age of 21. I see some of the people I know and some of the politicians I know, including Trump, still haven't got enough myelin. So it's still going on. They probably could benefit from gangliosides. And of course, they're incorporated into the fetal brain, especially in the toddler years. And nowadays, different companies, they got new lipid, they got milk fat globulin membrane. I don't want to go into that. But there are 2 Asian studies which have shown that gangliosides are found in milk, and these are the levels. The both Malaysian study is one of them, and these are all good studies. I don't want to go into all this because they are found in your diet, they are found in maternal milk, and this one just shows the Chinese data. In Chinese is 18.5, the average GA content. But remember, there are many types of gangliosides. I don't want to go into the GM3, GD3, and so on. And then we will move into DHA, which is also extremely important for neural tissue lipids. In fact, there's a study in the American College of Pediatrics that the IQ increases by 5 at the age of 5 if you have DHA. Most likely Mahathir has had DHA when he was breastfed by his mother, and probably gangliosides. He's still so sharp. So, evidence indicates DHA within red cells at 2 months of age is correlated with verbal activity at 9 months. So, lawyer Buru. So, too many of them. That's why nowadays the children too smart. They play with iPhone at the age, and I've got a picture drawn by my colleague's child showing the child playing with the iPad or iPhone in utero. It's coming to that. They're so good. So 200 milligram per day is important, and it depends on the diet, the gestational age. Preterm milk actually has got more of the polyunsaturated fatty acids, the parity, and if the parity is higher, the amount of DHA is higher, and smoking is very bad. Calcium is very important because 280 to 400 milligrams of calcium is lost through breast milk daily, and if you are twins, is 1,000 milligrams of calcium. What a suction apparatus. So you lose a lot, and vitamin D is also important. And here we have the Malaysian Nutritional Survey. Mean intake is only 344. Antenatal calcium is 834. So still not enough. So healthy eating, we all know about the pyramid, not white rice, go into grains, a lot of veggies, the colored vegetables are the best, milk, and of course you avoid too much of the fats. But if you look at the food provided in this organization, some of it is questionable. Okay, so we know this, and this is just a pictorial, how many cups and so on. Those of you who are interested, you can actually get a copy of this from the people if you just want. So go and look it up. It's quite a nice pictorial thing. You can show it to your patients. Remember, you need at least 10 glasses a day, 1 glass 250 mils, because of breast milk production. And yet people say, jangan minum, jangan minum. And then you dehydrate, and that's bad. And then the baby also, you don't produce enough breast milk. The baby loses weight and the jaundice level goes up. And then they panic. Like postpartum hemorrhage is not PPH, it's not panic hysterectomy. It's like this. It's going on to this. So functional foods, lastly, are 2 groups. The prebiotics and the probiotics. I think Prof. Serbeck has actually talked a lot on probiotics, but we now know that prebiotics are also very useful, and they actually increase the absorption of calcium, and they are related to immunity in the breast milk as well. And the commonest is inulin group, and you can get prebiotics in many parts of the world, and probiotics has already been described by the ISAPP, live organisms which give health benefit. And of course, there are 5 major criteria which forms the basis of gut health: effective digestion and absorption of food, absence of GI illness, stable intestinal microbacteria, and this has got an immune. These probiotics also have got an immunity, just like in BV. They do play a role in preventing recurrence and well-being. Okay, I just want to end up with this last few slides. Remember that nowadays we talk a lot about epigenetics, and this is actually not in the gene itself, but outside the gene. We have an epigenetic program. So as Mahathir says, if you have a problem in your life, blame your parents, because you inherited it. So that's one way of dealing with the problem, but that's not a good way. The environment does play a role, and the environment modifies gene expression, and all these microbial can affect the gene expression, and at birth you get this modification of program. And nowadays we talk a lot, not only about immunity, about allergy. And you know, C-section babies are more prone to allergic conditions, eczema, as well as asthma. So part of it is this, and these are the environmental factors. And nutrients, they influence the maternal microbiota composition. Good bacteria means healthy baby, antibodies, and of course, it helps the gut as well, and helps the immunity of the baby. And this is, of course, the theme worldwide, the first 1,000 days, and the window of opportunity for microbiota modulation. Anyway, both prebiotics and probiotics are found in breast milk, naturally. So you don't have to go very far. And of course, from the placental factors, mode of delivery, gestation age, the feeding factors, geographical location, diet, weaning, and toddler and childhood, and prevention of obesity. So I end here. Thank you very much.